Ready?
Yes, I was watching that clock. Yeah, we're good.
It is 9 o'clock.
It is 9 o'clock.
That one's
Yes.
slow.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
You ready?
Mhm. Good morning, Todd County. Welcome to Tuesday, August 1st, 2023, Todd County Board of Commissioners regular board meeting. Present today is Commissioner Denny, Commissioner Becker, Commissioner Noska, Commissioner Newman. Also joining Auditor Treasurer Gaida and Coordinator Pelzer, and the county attorney is absent. Would you please stand for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Once again, good morning, everybody. Is there any amendments to the agenda?
I have none, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Do we have a motion, please?
So move.
Motion by Becker. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Noska. Discussion. If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Carried. Thank you. Consent items.
Today we have meeting minute approval for July 18th, 2023, and a gambling permit for NWTF Prairie Edge Gobblers.
Okay, you've heard the request. Is there a motion?
So move.
Motion by Denny. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Becker. Discussion. If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Carried. Thank you. All right, Auditor Treasurer.
First item I have today is to approve the commissioner warrants. Background is sent for your review. Recommendation is to approve the commissioner warrants with an ACH and a manual payment totaling the amount of $75,775.89. It is a budgeted item.
Okay, you heard the request. Is there a motion, please?
So moved.
Motion by Noska. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Denny. Discussion. If none, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Noska?
Yes.
Commissioner Denny?
Yes.
Commissioner Becker?
Yes.
Commissioner Newman?
Yes.
Next item I have is the Health and Human Service Commissioner warrants. Again, background was sent for review. Recommendation is to approve the Health and Human Service Commissioner warrants with an ACH and a manual payment totaling the amount of $46,377.50. And again, it is a budgeted item.
Okay, you've heard the request. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Denny. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Becker. Discussion. If none, roll call vote.
Commissioner Denny?
Yes.
Commissioner Becker?
Yes.
Commissioner Noska?
Yes.
Commissioner Newman?
Yes.
Last item I have for you today then is Health and Human Service SSIS warrants. Background is sent for your review. Recommendation is to approve the Health and Human Service SSIS warrants with an ACH and a manual payment totaling the amount of $50,654.62, and it is a budgeted item.
Okay, you've heard the request. Is there a motion?
So move.
Motion by Becker. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Noska. Discussion. If none, roll call.
Commissioner Becker?
Yes.
Commissioner Noska?
Yes.
Commissioner Denny?
Yes.
Commissioner Newman?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Moving right along this morning. Todd County Historical Society. Are they here yet?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I have that to read through. The Historical Society did attend the last board meeting, and they gave a presentation on their request. So we're just following up on the Todd County Historical Society annual appropriation. So the background for this is the Todd County Board of Commissioners has budgeted an annual appropriation to the Todd County Historical Society in the amount of $8,500 per year, as outlined in the March 1st, 2006 lease agreement. Todd County Historical Society requested an increase to 2023 appropriation for a total of $15,000 a year due to increased operating and maintenance costs and significant reductions in admission, grant writing, and traditional fundraising events due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The Board of Commissioners approved a one-time use of ARP funds for 2023 in the amount of $6,500 in addition to the annual appropriation. Todd County Historical Society is requesting the same appropriation for 2024, a total of $15,000. So the options are to continue with the current appropriation of $8,500 as outlined in the lease agreement, or approve an increase of annual appropriation to $15,000 and update the lease agreement to include an addendum with the new appropriation. And this was discussed at Finance Committee, and there wasn't a specific recommendation that came out of that committee, so it's just open for discussion.
Mr. Chair, if we could have some discussion.
Yep.
Okay, Chris, do you want to go more into detail, because it's in their, we have to rewrite their whole lease agreement, correct?
Yeah, so what the recommendation in speaking with the auditor's office was that we update the lease to include an addendum. So we wouldn't have to necessarily review that entire lease agreement unless we chose to. We could just add an addendum with that additional amount. But the lease agreement definitely needs to be addressed because that is where their appropriation is.
Is this another one-time deal, or is this going forward?
If the request is for this to be ongoing, and if we updated that lease agreement, that would make it the new annual amount.
They had
Go ahead.
asked for that, and moving forward, last year, we just used ARPA funds.
Right.
Because it is a lifetime lease, so we would have to do an addendum if they're wanting this money moving forward.
Right.
Last year, the board just chose to do the ARPA funds as a one-time patch to get them to that amount.
Okay, yeah.
But now it's something they're looking forward each year to be asking for that amount. Well, you legally can't, because the lease agreement was a lifetime lease for $8,500.
Right.
So you would have to do an amendment to that lease.
I gotcha.
And we didn't get any numbers as far as usage, as far as people.
Mr. Chair, I don't have any specific numbers that would show the usage or like how many people come to the museum. I don't have that information. That wasn't provided. They did provide a letter to the board just stating their needs, that they want to have, increased hours. They're looking to hire an additional person to assist with that. So. Not sure, Denise, if
And I know
that
there is
letter
one-
Yeah, I
is in
think
there.
they were, when Jerry Ruda presented, he said something maybe about updating a copy machine or things like that, just little
Sure.
things that they need to update, but I don't know, and I think we were kind of looking to get numbers from them, but I don't know that they were provided. They weren't to my office anyhow,
Right.
as far as the attendance and how many hours are put in by the staff, the warranting another staff person, that type of
Yeah.
documentation, justification we did not receive.
And, Mr. Chair, also, the other request was, and we talked about it at facility, was for the water, the drainage out at the fairgrounds, so the water wouldn't run through their building, and that was taken care of through facilities. I believe Public Works and Mitch are going to take care of the drainage problem they're seeing out at the fairgrounds, correct?
That is correct.
And that would be taken care of through the county at no expense to them.
As, at this time, that's the plan.
That was the plan, okay.
Okay, what are you guys' wishes? I am a history, I like history. I think it's very important to continue sharing our history with the younger generations. They haven't had an increase since 2006, but that's just my opinion, so. Anybody else have any thoughts on that?
No, I agree with that. I mean, it needs to, been a long time since they had an increase, and I was just curious on, with how it went last year with the one-time fee, and going forward, if it's gonna be every year, so that's what I wanted to know. Okay.
Mr. Becker, any thoughts? Commissioner Haska?
I agree with you, Randy, because I think, $8,500 a year, maybe that's something, when we put a lifetime lease on things like that, you gotta take into consideration, things do cost more as we go forward. $8,500 does not go as far as it did in 2006, so I think we should help them out.
Okay, so is that gonna be a motion then?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to appropriate 15,000 going
Option
forward.
two.
What's that? Option 2, yes.
Because we have to update the lease.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Nasca. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Commissioner Denny. Discussion? If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Health and Human Services. Who's up?
An update from Northern Pines.
Okay. Come on up. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's nice to be here again. Thank you so much for having us. My name is Laura Vaughn. I'm the Executive Director for Northern Pines Mental Health Center. And if you don't mind, for the benefit of our 2 new commissioners, I'd just like to tell you a little bit about Northern Pines and the history of what we do in the region. We are a community mental health center, and we serve the 6 counties of Aiken, Cass, Crow Wing, Morrison, Todd, and Wadena counties. We have about 250 employees, and we provide approximately 75,000 mental health services in that 6 counties a year. We serve anywhere in mental health from birth to end of life. We have programs, substance use, mental health outpatient. We are in the schools, mobile crisis outreach. Goodness sakes, we serve quite a lot. ARMS, which is a in-home adult rehabilitative mental health services is what ARMS stands for. In Todd County, we have about 13 FTEs, full-time equivalents. So 1 care coordinator. We have 3 in our outpatient office, which is next to the old hospital. We have 2 ARMS providers dedicated to Todd County. We have 6 full-time equivalents in the schools, serving all the way from preschool up through high school, and 1 in-home provider. We do have substance use programming in Little Falls, and so that is the closest that we have available for Todd County. We certainly would like to expand substance use. It is highly regulated by DHS and makes that program very difficult. And it's not so much from a standpoint of what we are able to provide, it's who has to provide that service. Licensed drug and alcohol counselors are very difficult to come by right now, and probably that is our biggest challenge across the board is being able to hire the level of education and experience that is required to do the mental health services in our area. I've also brought with me today our operations director, Kate Sullivan, and she's going to talk a little bit about our newest endeavor, which is the mobile crisis mental health, or yes, it's under mobile crisis, but our mental health urgent care clinic, and that is located in Brainerd.
Good morning.
Morning.
So we just wanted to give you just a little update on our like Laura said, our newest endeavor. And so we opened on May 15th, we opened a mental health urgent care clinic in Brainerd. It's a one-of-a-kind, very unique expansion of mental health services. And what it is it's a walk-in clinic. You don't need an appointment or referral or anything. If you feel like you're experiencing a mental health crisis or someone that you care about and you're bringing them, but any type of mental health crisis, you can walk right into this clinic. We're open 7 days a week from 10 a.m. until 7 p.m. And we are so proud and so excited to be able to offer this service. So far since we've opened, which our stats here for about the past 8 weeks, we've had over 100 people served in our mental health urgent care. Mobile crisis services or crisis services are up 38% since last year at this same time. So it's 758 so far in 2023. People have been served that have been in crisis. So either through mobile crisis or coming into the urgent care. But it's been 100 that have actually walked into our clinic. One of the things we're really excited about is that law enforcement are able to bring someone to our urgent care, and unlike the emergency departments, they do not have to sit and wait with that person. So we've, again, piloted this in Crow Wing County, but we're ready now to open it up fully to all 6 counties. But our law enforcement officers will phone ahead. So we have these little cards that kind of go on the visor of the squad cars, and they know that they can phone ahead. They give us just a little bit of information. I have so-and-so, you know, a little bit maybe about what they're experiencing, that type of thing. And we have been averaging less than 10 minutes, and our officers are back out on the streets and doing the good work that they're doing. So we're really proud about that. And again, what we did was we wanted to pilot it first kind of in the one county, and then make sure that we have the systems all, because it's such a brand new, unique idea, and sort of work through any of the challenges or, you know, things that we needed to see that we needed to improve on. We haven't turned anyone away though, so people have come from other counties, and we've served everyone that has come through our doors, but we really haven't done a grand opening or like really blasted out the information, but we're ready to do that now. So September the 5th will be our official like grand opening to all 6 counties, yeah, let me see. And then, so the other thing is to, again, it's open 7 days a week. And if anyone was interested in touring the facility, we are still giving tours, like to our county commissioners or anyone that would be interested in coming to tour it. And we typically do those from like 8 till 10 a.m. because then once we open, we close that down so that everything remains very private and confidential.
Mr. Chair, if I could I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
When law enforcement brings an individual in and so forth, how long can you hold them? Because we hear so many times, the length of time that we have to be able to keep a person.
So we don't hold anyone
Okay.
at this facility. This facility really is, we do.
So how long can they stay there? Maybe I should rephrase my
Okay.
question. I mean, can they stay there for 4 hours or 6 hours?
There's no time limit from that standpoint, as long as we are open during open
Okay.
hours. But we really see it as a continuum of care. Then we take on that responsibility. If they need a higher level of care and they can't be back in their homes safely, then we take on that responsibility of looking for a bed for them,
Okay.
for looking for we hope that we can get family involved so that family wraps around,
Right.
so that people can be in their own home. And then we have rapid access psychiatry or rapid access therapy that they would be able to get into within 24 hours, so that we start that process of healing. If they do need to go to a higher level of care, then which we have as well, because we have our Safe Harbor crisis bed facility, which is a 10-day facility. If it's full, then we do have to look elsewhere. But really, we're just hoping to open up that continuum of care. We don't feel that the emergency room is equipped, as well as that's who we employ, that's who we work with in that mental health realm.
Yeah, and there's such a need for that.
We are
Phase
seeing
right there.
Yes, crisis is up in the reason why we opened this, we really saw this during COVID. And because our crisis numbers just kept going up and up and up. And as Kate, we are up, did you say 38%? 38%.
From this time last year.
Just from this time last year.
And it's been steady, really steady going up especially since COVID. Yeah. There's no wait time, so if someone walks in, it is immediate service. Unlike, again, the emergency departments, obviously, they have to prioritize, and sometimes you can wait hours and hours to get help. But with us, this is, there is no waiting. I mean, we're fully staffed and ready to go. And like I said, we've helped over 100 people now, or right around 100 people, since we opened. And we haven't, we're just really piloting it right now. So are there any questions about our urgent care?
Mr. Chair, if I could, are you expected to expand it to all the counties, or where are you kind of sitting
Yes.
on that?
So our hope and dream is to open more of these facilities, in the different locations in the different counties. We chose Brainerd right now because, for several reasons. One, it is our, probably our largest area as far as people. And then secondly is, you have to credential a building, and sometimes that takes an awfully long time to do that through DHS. And so we actually took a building that was already credentialed for us, and we were able then to be able to kind of bypass that part of it. If we're looking to expand in other places, we would have to go about that whole credentialing the location process, which takes a little bit longer. But we're absolutely, our goal is to see how this goes, to see if it really meets the needs, and if it does, we're absolutely planning on expanding this idea to the other counties as well.
My question would be, how many individuals can you handle, in this facility?
Yes, we have 6 interview rooms right now.
Okay.
And so we can absolutely have 6, and then we have like an overflow, 2 areas for overflow. And so we have, we could easily, accommodate up to 8 people right now. And then just again, our idea is to get that assessment and start right away working on what is that continuum of care? Like what services do we need to wrap around this person before they leave our facility?
I would also, if I could add, we have a children's room as
Oh,
well.
yeah.
So the office, the clinic serves birth to end of life. And one of the stunning things that we learned during the pandemic is crisis is not adults anymore. In fact, our crisis numbers, that largest part of that percentage is gearing toward children as young as 5 years old having suicidal ideation, and it is stunning. And I don't mean that to be a sensationalized, but we wanted to be this facility to not just serve adults but to also serve children, and we use that room not just to do assessments. It has some real great sensory things, but we've also helped by, we had a family of 4 come in, and they brought their children. The father was who needed the assessment, but we were able then to bring the children into the children's room, and we had staff on to be able to play with the children, to work with them and, see how they were doing and assess, while the father was getting assessment and mother was able to concentrate on getting the best care for her husband at that moment. So we have some really great anecdotal stories that we could tell, which just fuels us to understand that the proof in this concept is important for the region. And even if we can't get to all counties to have this type of facility, it's very high cost, as you can imagine, because we have to have folks who are master's level trained to be on staff to be able to do those assessments. And it kind of comes in waves and spurts at this time. But if we could at least get to regional offices, clinics, if we can't get to every single county with a clinic of this type. So we look forward to bringing you more information. The next time we come, we will continue to bring you the documents about that. But we are always open for your coming to visit any of our facilities if you are interested in how we are serving the area. And quite honestly, just to close, I'd like to say we are grateful for our partnership with the Todd County Human Services, Jackie and her team does a great job in this area. We've always felt welcome, and when there are issues, we've always worked on those together, and really that's a testimony to her leadership. So thank you very much.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
You too.
Approve the low-income home energy assistant program. All right.
Thank you.
Oh, this was the 60 page. This was the 60 pages in my board packet. Just kidding, just kidding. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, good morning, Commissioners. Mr. Chair, thanks for having us this morning. Our first BAF, I have Stephen here and Amy Zimmerman, who leads the Energy Assistance Program. So our first BAF is to approve the federal fiscal year 2024 low-income home energy assistance program and low-income household water assistance program grant contract. So some background. Todd County Health and Human Services will administer and deliver the Energy Assistance Program and Household Water Assistance Program to Todd County residents with federal fiscal year 2024 beginning October 1st, 2023. The Office of the Legislative Auditor, OLA, requires the Minnesota Department of Commerce to ensure service providers maintain an effective internal control system and appropriate management of public funds. The internal controls documentation, IDC, helps meet this requirement by documenting specific aspects of a service provider's internal controls. The ICD is organized in accordance to the United States Government Accountability Office standards for internal control in federal government. Amy's going to go over some of the utilization over the last federal fiscal year, and then I can go through the options after Amy does her review.
I would like to add, though, there is a correction because for federal fiscal year 2024, there will not be the water sewer assistance part of the program. That is, however, still going now until August 31st. And in fact, that's the only funding that we still have available this summer. Because the last day to apply for the program was May 31st, and the last day to use crisis funding was June 30th. But the water is, we're able to use up what funding we had for that. So there was an 8.57 increase this year in approved applications. So we did serve a total of 1,394 households. And the average grant for the households was $586. And that's basically just a starting point, because after that we can, of course, use crisis funding when it's appropriate for the households. And then another large part of the program, of course, is for homeowners for their emergency repair and replacement of their heating systems. And this year we did do 131 events, and 38 of those were replacements. And we do make sure we rotate around to all the contractors that we work with, so I feel like they all get a pretty fair share of the work. So that's all I've got.
And I want to take this time to thank Amy. There's a lot of calls that you get on weekends and evenings that you go out and look at whatever concern they might have or address them after hours, because some of them do come in after hours, so.
They do. I've been in fish houses, making sausage, but I have my laptop and my phone, so I'm able to handle it pretty quickly.
Mr. Chair, if I could. Any reasoning why they're dropping the water and sewer?
I do not know that. It's the federal funding
Yeah.
is they're not sending federal funding for that this year. I believe it was a 2-year special funding.
Probably related to the peacetime emergency.
Yeah.
It could have been.
Interesting.
Yeah, I could find out, but I'm not exactly sure.
Okay. Anybody else? I get very positive reports on you, Amy, so
Well,
thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you. Options to approve the federal fiscal year 2024 low-income home energy assistance program and low-income household. I don't want to say that. Should I remove that water assistance?
Yeah, we're going
So
to
let me
have to.
start over.
Yep.
Options to approve the federal fiscal year 2024 low-income home energy assistance program. Or to not approve. Our recommendation is to approve the federal fiscal year 2024 low-income home energy assistance program.
okay, we've heard the request. Is there a motion, please?
I'll make the motion with the removal of the household water assistant.
Okay, is there a second to that?
I'll second it.
Second by Nazca. Discussion. If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Carried. Thank you.
And I guess I would ask, Randy, have you received the contract yet by email?
I have
Or
not.
DocuSign? Okay. They were supposed to be sent July 14th, but the Department of Commerce had some technical difficulties, so it should be arriving any time.
Okay,
Okay?
Get that 30-page document again.
Yes, you will.
I will keep my eyes open for that.
Okay, yep.
All right,
All
thank
right,
you.
okay, thank you.
Thanks for coming in. All right, next on our list is the elimination of the registered nurse RN position. You're gonna be seeing these come through as related to home care through attrition with the program. So this is the first of 2 that we're presenting today. Some background. At the Commissioner Board meeting on June 6, 2023, the County Commissioners voted to opt out of the home care licensure renewal. Due to this decision, the resignation of an RN, a RN position will be, and then the RN position will be eliminated. Options to eliminate the RN registered nurse position effective immediately or to not eliminate the RN position. It is our recommendation that we eliminate the registered nurse position effective immediately. And we wanted to do this just to be sure that our org chart looks as it should as we move forward after the home care program is closed on September 1st.
Okay, you've heard the request. Is there a motion, please?
So moved.
Motion by Nazca, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Danny. Discussion. If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you. And then we'll follow up with the elimination of the home care registered nurse, RN, again, team lead position. Some background, on June 6th, the commissioners voted to opt out of the home care licensure renewal. Due to this decision, the home care registered nurse team lead position will no longer be needed. Your options are to eliminate the home care registered nurse team lead position effective 7/19/2023, or to not eliminate the home care registered team lead position. It is our recommendation that we eliminate the home care registered nurse team lead position effective 7/19/2023. And that 7/19 date is because the individual, the employee that held this position moved into another position. So she's toggling between the 2 programs at this time to be sure that patients are transitioned out as she starts her new role as a care coordinator.
Okay. All right, you've heard the request. Is there a motion, please?
So moved.
Motion by Denny. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Becker. Discussion. If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you. Lastly, our last presentation is on the home health services, Health and Human Services organizational structure. Some background. The Health and Human Services organizational structure was changed in 2018, where the Child Protection Manager position was eliminated. The Child Protection Unit was then reduced to a Child Protection Supervisor and a team lead position. To date, the child services needs are rapidly growing and changing. A review of the HHS organizational structure, position roles and responsibilities, increase in client and staffing needs, support the additional need for leadership. The proposed change in the Health and Human Services organizational structure will add a child services manager and a child services supervisor and eliminate the currently vacant child protection lead position. Your options are to approve the Health and Human Services organizational structure from Child Protection Unit to the Child Services Unit, adding a Child Services Manager and Child Services Supervisor and eliminating the Child Protection Team Lead position, or to not approve. It's our recommendation to approve the Health and Human Services organizational structure from the Child Protection Unit to the Child Services Unit, adding a Child Services Manager and Child Services Supervisor and eliminating the Child Protection Team Lead position. This sounds kind of confusing that the previous roles were labeled as Child Protection, so we wanted to be sure that they aligned with Child Services as they'll be supervising child protection and children's mental health. The positions are included in the 2024 budget. Child Services Manager grade and step increase, will be a grade and step increase from the eliminated nursing supervisor position due to the closure of home care. Child Services Supervisor grade step increase from the Child Protection Lead position. Our Health and Human Services fund balance can financially support the increase with both positions due to unfilled and open positions that have existed for quite some time.
Okay, you've heard the request. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Nazca. Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Second by Danny. Discussion?
Yeah, Jackie, we've got some word charts up here that they gave us, and they color-coded them, put some names in them, which is really very, very nice, you know, for us to try to keep track and manage what's going on.
Commissioner Becker, you know, the department is so large, I wanted to be sure that we were seeing the same information this time, and I think the org chart that Chris Kasubi has created in HR really kind of was more, presented a better outlook or current look as to how we are structured today, so.
Yeah, much appreciated. And even the difference of colors, so you can go back and color relate it back. I mean, yeah.
Good.
Otherwise, it's just
It just got really
massive.
confusing with
Yes,
all these
it
different
did.
org charts, so I
Yeah.
appreciate that, thank you.
Okay. So the fund balance will cover the expenses for 2023, and then it is a budgeted item in 2024. Okay. All right. Any other discussion on that? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Carried.
Thank
Thank
you.
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 Group commissioners. Chris?
Okay, Mr. Chair, I have a board action this morning to approve a contract for classification and compensation study. So the background for this is Todd County has a classification and compensation study completed in 2014 by Springstead. A request was made to explore options for a classification and compensation study, and proposals were received from Gallagher, Baker Tilly, and DDA. Proposals were shared with the Board of Commissioners at the July 18th work session, and reference checks have been completed for all three vendors and provided to the commissioners. So this board action, the information from the proposals was shared with personnel and was also shared with Finance Committee. And again, it's a pretty big deal, so it was tough to come up with a recommendation from those two groups. But the options are to approve a contract for a classification and compensation study from one of these three vendors, or to not approve. And the recommendation is going to be open for discussion. Just for your reference, though, I did also provide just some real simple cost analysis. You have 3 sheets in front of you that would give you the cost for Gallagher. So Gallagher came in at $68,775. Baker Tilly had a cost of $43,700 with some additional delivery cost as well for benefits analysis and FLSA analysis. And then DDA came in at a cost of $46,250. And with each one of these, just please understand that if there is, like, if there are any additional job descriptions that have to be, like if something is gonna be created, there's an additional cost for that. So just keep in mind that that overall cost might be a little bit more than their base costs.
What's the board's wishes?
Mr. Chair, Chris, we're also getting some money from Sourcewell, correct?
Yes, so to talk a little bit, thank you, Commissioner Becker, for bringing that up. So to talk a little bit about how this project is budgeted, through Sourcewell, we are allowed a $10,000 reimbursement. It's a 50-50 match on a project for professional services. So this would qualify for that. So we would have $10,000 towards this project. For this year, we've budgeted $20,000, and for next year, we've budgeted $20,000. So that total budget over the 2 years would be $50,000. We did talk a little bit in finance that if we wanted to go with something that was more expensive than what we have within the budget, we could utilize ARP dollars if the board so chooses to do so. And again, a reminder, professional services do not have to be the lowest proposal.
Okay, so to share a little background with the two newer commissioners, the board passed in 2012 to do a comp study. We met in person with Springstead and like 4 others. So we went through the interviewing process. We chose Springstead. The difference between 2012 and now is our administration staff went from 2 to 4, so we have more people involved in administration to help gather the information. Plus, we've already went through it. A lot of our department heads are seasoned with this, so. You talk to other commissioners around the area, some were happy with Springstead, some were not so happy. Same way with Gallagher. It takes a while.
Yeah, I think, Mr. Chair, if I could, Baker Tilly is the same as Springstead.
Yes.
For-
Thank you. Yeah.
For the 2 new commissioners, that's,
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
And that's who we have been working with, was Baker Tilly. Or Springstead, yeah.
from the responses that we've been getting from other areas, Gallagher has been probably the most favorable one, I believe.
Mr. Chair, that's correct. Gallagher seems to be the one who hits the mark on sticking to the timeline. And some of that falls back on the counties, but they seem to be definitely able to meet those timelines if the counties can meet the timelines.
Right. Okay, what's the wishes of the board?
You know, I'm ready to make a motion. And my motion would be to go with Gallagher at the higher cost. And I realize it's higher, but if we can use some of the ARPA funds to cover the additional cost, I think with working and getting just in the end of the Baker Tilly or the Springstead, working through that, it was quite an ordeal. But like you said, a lot of things have changed since that point also.
Right. Things have
Talking with other commissioners, so forth, I think Gallagher was probably their #1 choice also, so I'll make that motion.
Okay, so we have a motion by Mr. Becker. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Commissioner Denny. Discussion.
I've got something, Mr. Chair.
Yep.
And I know we're going with them because it seems like they're more inclusive and they've had good reviews. But is there something we can do to keep them to their timeline? So it does keep going, so we don't end up being drug out and drug along. Is there any binding to that?
There's nothing within the proposal that is specifically binding, but going by the reference checks that were done, anybody who had a delay in that time frame, the counties openly stated that Gallagher keeps you on task, and it's just really the counties trying to keep that pace. So
Okay,
I
thank
felt
you.
pretty
Yep,
comfortable
thank
with
you.
that.
Yep. And then with this, you gotta understand that, there could be some increases in our levy, so just, you understand that, so. Okay, so we have a motion by Becker, second by Danny. Any other discussion on comp?
Yes, I could. Chris, it's kind of mandated for the county to redo these studies, correct? I mean, it's not something we're just picking out of the air that we want to do this.
So the county has to remain equitable internally, and we need to remain competitive within the market. So we as a county could do this type of work ourselves if we had the training and the skill set to do it, or we utilize those outside parties to do that. So until we can get to a point where we are completely comfortable with making sure that we are being fair and equitable in our decision-making on our pay scale and are competitive with the market, it's important to utilize the professional services. But we are required to be equitable.
Thank you.
Yeah, and is this a plan for us to do this, say, every 10 years, something like that, just going forward? Just, is there something we should be setting, like, every 10 years we should maybe look this over, just to have that
Yeah,
somewhere?
that 10 years used to be what we talked about. Like, every 10 years you should do that. That time frame has definitely shifted to, like, you would want to look at this at the 6-year mark
Okay,
for sure.
okay.
So we want to be on top of this, and we probably would want to really focus HR manager or coordinator on making sure that we are staying consistent year to year even, and getting more trained on keeping things up to date.
Okay. Thank you.
Chair, before you move forward, I have the board action motion by Becker, but you made a comment about ARPA funds. What are the exact amounts you're putting towards this from ARPA, so I can track that?
It would be $18,775, because we currently have $50,000 total within the budget 2 years.
Any other discussion? If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And the last board action that I have is to approve purchase of real properties 36-004230 and 36-004240. And the background is the Todd County Board of Commissioners have reviewed options for purchase of real properties adjacent to the historic courthouse complex, parcel number 36-004230 and parcel number 36-004240, with the agreed purchase amount for 36-004230 of $145,000 and for the 36-004240 of $175,000, subject to contingencies. Purchase agreements have been drafted and are being reviewed by both parties. The options are to authorize the board chair to sign purchase agreements for lots adjacent to the historic courthouse complex, parcel 36-004230 at $145,000 and parcel 36-004240 at $175,000, subject to contingencies, or to not authorize, and the recommendation is to authorize. And if I could just point out in the comments section, when we look at the financial implications, the budgeted and the comments, so interest revenue is greater than budgeted for 2023 due to the current economic climate. Interest revenue is held within the general fund and will be utilized for this purchase. This purchase does not contain funds for levy sources.
Okay, you've heard the request. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Danny. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Noska. Discussion.
I've got, just on the parcel, on the recommendation, it's, I think there's an extra 0 in the front of the one. It doesn't
Oh,
really
thank you.
matter, but it's there.
Commissioner
If we
Noska,
could just
thank
X
you.
that out. and
Yep.
I think we're good.
Okay. Any other discussion? If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's move right into reports. Auditor Treasurer.
Just a couple items, so the public is aware, we do have the county's special primary election happening on August 8th. Absentee voting is open right now. The 3 polling locations on Tuesday, August 8th will be City of Long Prairie Township, and Reynolds Township. The polls will be open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. And then I also am still looking for 2 commissioners to sit on that canvassing board for Friday, August 11th at 8:15 in the boardroom to help canvass that election. The other item to mention is Independent School District 487 Upsala is having a special election on August 8th as well. This is for a 2-building bond question. They're going for a $4.6 million bond and then a $4 million bond. And the polling places for that is Upsala Recreation Building, and that polling place is open from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Okay.
Couple elections going on Tuesday the 8th.
All right, thank you. Right, county attorney is absent. Commissioners, we're gonna start with Commissioner Becker today.
Okay. Had finance and facility, wellness meetings, personnel meetings. Region 5 celebrated their 50th anniversary last week at a meeting. But the one I want to talk to is I went to the West Central Juvenile meeting up in Moorhead last week. Very interesting meeting. We meet 4 times a year. But we increased our beds from 1.5 to 2.5 beds, so we increased by a whole bed, which I'm sure the auditor treasurer would, they send that for our budget committee. The other thing, so we went from $33,918, and this year we'll be paying $77,510. So it was a $43,000 increase by just that one bed. During further discussion, it was really interesting how they had to leave the top floor, go to just female juveniles, that they're increasing by the females by 1/3 are increasing over the male juveniles. The other thing, it was a discussion about searching and what that's leading to if they're going to have to put in searches such as airports usage and so forth. So it's just a very, very interesting meeting, yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
No, thank you.
Commissioner Denny?
Yeah, the meetings were, business as usual, except for Emergency Service Board meeting in St. Cloud. Excuse me. There's a lot of, geez, almost got it. Okay. There's just a lot of information coming down the pipe, and that was an update for our September meeting that they're gonna know what's gonna be coming to the counties, and a lot of it has to do with, like Armor and Next Gen 911 and all that, and that was, basically everything was updating this week, and I'll know more next month on that.
Okay. Anything else? Nope. Commissioner Noska?
Yeah, basically business as usual. I had a couple meetings canceled from last board meeting to this one, so it gave me a little bit of a break there. One notable though, housing and redevelopment was the 26th of July, and we spoke, I guess we did fill District 5, so that was nice. My district is still open, haven't found one yet, but in the meantime, they may appoint me to fill that position until we do, so at least we can keep a quorum there. Sometimes it's tough to get everybody there when you've only got 4 or 3 voting members, so I'll probably take that role on until I can fill it. One other thing, it's tough, but we've got approximately 200 people on wait lists for all our facilities, so that's for, disabled housing or senior housing. So 200 people for housing and for vouchers for their own rentals. So it's we're really working hard to try and secure some more housing. There may be an opportunity in Staples. It sounds like one of the apartment facilities is planning to sell, but that all depends on if the HRA from that area wants it or not, or if we can make a joint acquisition of that. So more to come on that though.
Okay. All right. I had a meeting at Sauk River Watershed, policy, counties providing technology in Morris, personnel, finance, facilities. And then after facilities, we went out and toured the fairgrounds. I thought the fairgrounds was, the upkeep was very good. We talked a little bit about the fence, in front of the grandstand and how to resolve the issue of people hitting the fence, so I think we got a plan on that to stop them from hitting it. Then last Thursday, I had a Zoom meeting with Central Minnesota Council on Aging, and there, the state decided to look at the formula with the regional Council on Aging, and of course, outstate got cut, metro got increased. So, we're gonna take a little closer look at that, and they were talking about redistricting some of the, regions, change them up because of population. And then we were notified that there was a possible fraud case that is getting investigated in St. Cloud. But otherwise, continue to serve the seniors of the 14 counties, so. And that's all I have. So, is there anything else that needs coming? Oh, coordinator's report, sorry.
I'll keep mine short. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I had the opportunity on July 19th to attend the Parks and Trails meeting, and that was really great to be caught up to speed with what's going on there. Lots of great plans in the works, so thank you for that invitation. I also, on the 24th, I had a chance to tour the Stevens County Daycare Pod system with their provider-operated daycares. They have a 6-unit pod, and they have 6 providers ready to roll with providing care. And so that was on a Monday, and on the following Tuesday, they were already going to be opening up one of the pods. So that was exciting to see what they're doing there. A number of those same meetings and committees that commissioners had mentioned, finance and wellness and personnel and others. I do just want to make a quick mention about a press release that's going to be going out today after we get done with these meetings this morning, and that's on signs not permitted within the road right-of-way. So just as a reminder to the public that when you're placing signs, real estate signs, campaign signs, yard sale signs, any of those, they cannot be within the road right-of-way. So that message will be going out, press release, newspaper, Facebook. And then the last thing that I have is, with today being the first day that cannabis is legal for personal use, more information will be coming forward to the board, and I'll be reaching out to the cities just on what that may mean for us and what actions we might want to take. So, and that's all I have.
All right, thank you. Now, is there anything else that needs to come in front of this board? If not, we will recess to August 15th. Thank you. And we'll start the work session here about, by my clock, 5 after. By that clock, in 10 minutes. No, just kidding. Welcome to Tuesday, August 1st, 2023, Todd County Board of Commissioners work session. We have two items on the agenda today. First will be discussion of Higgins Long Lake project. And I think with us today is Megan and Bob and John, and there's some other residents I see from Higgins Long. So would you guys please come up and grab a chair in front of us and so, good morning.
Good morning.
So the reason I asked to have this put on a work session is I do attend the Sauk River Watershed meetings, and I have some concerns with the project. It's been ongoing for about 3 years, at least 3 years.
Yeah.
Representative Poston, before the redistricting, did put in a bill for funding to help alleviate the high water conditions on Long Higgins. From my understanding, he went off you guys' bid, but it was like $1 million, and he added like 400,000 on there to help cover some of those extra costs. I'll be honest with you, it was like hitting the lottery, because normally funding like this, you don't get it in Todd County. I'll be honest with you. You guys got it, okay? The concern that I have is the county board was out there a couple times. We toured the lake with you. You gave us a great tour. We understood what was going on. Representative Poston also had meetings out there on site. So we had a really good discussion on that. My concern right now is the funding is there. We need to move this project forward. There was some concerns brought up, because the funding went to the Sauk River Watershed District. The concern is we have board members on that, managers on that are outside Todd County. So Stearns County has 4 managers on that. Todd has 2, Douglas has 1, Meeker has 1, Pope has 1. The vibes I'm getting from that board is it's not gonna pass. They're not gonna push this thing forward. And then the county, or the watershed attorney basically said, somebody needs to come up with a bond, and if the county comes up with the bond, the project will move forward. And that's why we're here today, and I wish our county attorney would have been here today, but he's on vacation. So let's just go from there, and I know you guys had conversations with the watershed. I was not able to make it because I had other meetings that I had to attend, so let's go from there. Megan, go ahead.
Well, first off, thank you guys for taking time to make this meeting, and you guys were gracious enough to do this back in October, and that's when Representative Poston came in and said he was going to write a bill, and did before he retired, and then ended up passing. And like you said, we do feel like we kind of hit the lottery a little bit. Very lucky and fortunate. So the bill was written for $1.4 million. We this winter got a bid from NBC Drainage, which came just under 1.4, and there's other costs associated. So that's kind of where the discussion is being had at the Sauk River Watershed District of, you know, what if we go over 1.4 and how will that be handled? Unfortunately, we have to do we have to spend some money to be able to find out, will it truly be 1.4, or will it be 1.1, or will it be 1.5, you know, and then to be able to figure that out, we have to do additional engineering. And it sounds like Sauk River Watershed District is willing to work with Widseth, which is who the landowner is paid to do the feasibility study. So they've already gotten some of the work done, and now we have to have them go in and do like the final engineering, which we talked to them and they kind of gave us a ballpark figure on how much that would cost us. And so we have some things we need to spend money on, which we'd like to use that 1.4 to do some of this work. And it's written in a way that it could be used to do that initial work. But until it goes to bid, it can't be listed as an official project. And there's some things that have to happen before it goes to bid. So we're kind of in a spot where we're ready to hit the ground running, and we know, what it would be and who to talk to, and we're excited to get it to bid. But we need to get to the point where we can have it be bid, and we need the engineering to be done. So Sauk River Watershed District said that we can do a petition to go around and have the landowners say if they're in favor or not to move forward with the project. Part of that might have to be some bonding, but it sounds like if Todd County is willing to sign our petition, then the bonding is waived, and then we can move forward without bonding. I think if we have to do some bonding prior, I think it's gonna be really hard to get 25 landowners to be in charge of paying for that bonding. And so it might be a snag in the project here, where we've got this pot of money sitting there, we know what we wanna do with it, there's a problem, it needs to be fixed, but we need to be able, it's the whole cart before the horse, first before the cart thing. We're kind of in a spot where we would love to start running, but we need to get the engineering stuff done so we can get it to bid.
Mr. Chair, if I
Yep.
could, how much are you talking dollar-wise for bonding?
The required amount is
Yeah.
2,000, but the board sounded like during their discussions that they wanted to do more than that. Was it more like 10 or 15 maybe?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, I can kind of explain the process that we are obligated to follow under the statute, the watershed law. Watershed projects, first of all, the legislation that passed appropriated $1.4 million to the Sauk River Watershed District to do this work. I mean, I've got the language here if you want to see it. I'm sure you've all read it. So if this is going to be a watershed project, that legislation did not waive any of the watershed law requirements for initiating and implementing a project. A project is initiated with the watershed district one of two ways. It's either initiated with a project petition where there's, I think it's a 25% of the property owners or the owners of more than 5% of the property within the limits of the area proposed to be improved. They have to sign this petition, then the Watershed District Board is required to act on that. The other way that a project can be initiated with the Watershed District is by unanimous resolution of the board. The board has opted to not do that because this is going to involve a future assessment area where folks will have to be responsible for paying for operations and maintenance of a project like this down the road. Although I think it's going to be minimal if we go with this piped outlet thing, there's still going to be some operations and maintenance. We have to regularly inspect it, things like that. So, that being said, they have instructed the landowners that if they want to move this project forward, they would like to have them provide us a petition. That way all the people that sign that petition understand that coming down the road there may be some things showing up on their tax statements in the form of an assessment to cover costs for operations and maintenance. That being said, then once the project is in motion, part of this petition process requires a bond. The bond is like a promissory note or a cash surety that ensures the watershed district that if this project contract is not awarded to be constructed, all the costs incurred to get it to that point are covered by the petitioners, okay? Then, because the watershed district can't cover those costs with a general levy across their entire watershed. And if you think about it for a minute, taxpayers in the city of St. Cloud probably really don't care what's going on Long Higgins Lake, okay? They should not, and they would likely not want to have to pay costs for a project that doesn't make it to construction if something comes up that would fail, okay? The minimum bond requirement is $2,000, but the board sets that bond requirement to make sure it covers those costs. They can post a $2,000 bond, and we can do $2,000 worth of work, and then we have to stop, okay, until additional bond is posted. So trying to anticipate what those costs are going to be from the time we initiate the project to the time that the contract is awarded to be for construction purposes. We've done some of that work. I've done a real rough estimate of what that cost would be based on what other projects are, and I have not adjusted these numbers yet because I'm still working out to fine-tune that number. But if you figure 30% of the project to do final engineering and design, permitting, we need to acquire land rights for, easements to cross property to carry this outlet down to Sauk Lake. We'll have some legal requirements, and then there's always some administrative costs that are affiliated in that, and we've estimated that at around $400,000. That is likely high, and after visiting with the landowners, I agreed to go to work, sharpen the pencil, and see if I can figure out a little more closely what that might be. I've talked to the engineer that the landowners used, and he concurred that his engineering costs would be $70,000 to $80,000. But there's included in that things that we use the engineering for is to assist with permitting. We'll have to get a DNR permit, likely a Corps of Engineers permit, likely a Wetland Conservation Act permit, and I'm not sure about any others. We'll probably have to go through Todd County as well, and our own permit, the Watershed District permit. So there's several steps that we have to go through before we can even get to the point of awarding a contract or advertising for bids. Those costs are kind of variable because you don't know what you're going to run into, okay? Especially when you're dealing with Corps of Engineers 404. Hopefully we can get in on one of their general permits that are already in place, and it won't take much to do that. So anyway, in any case, a bond is required if there's petitioners petitioning for a project. The statute also states that the bond requirement can be waived if a local municipality or county board would agree to sign on as a petitioner. The costs that are incurred between initiation and awarding of the contract do not go away. The reason that a government entity, if they sign on, relieves the requirement for a bond is that government entity has taxing authority and has the ability to cover those costs if for some reason the project doesn't come through to construction. So that would be the purpose for maybe asking Todd County to do this, although I believe you're probably in the same boat. Would your taxpayers in your whole county be interested in covering costs for this if it doesn't make it? These are steps that would need to be followed, statutory processes that would need to be followed if the Watershed District was to be the project sponsor and owner of the project, so to speak. We don't have to be the project sponsor or owner. A local government unit likely does need to be the project sponsor or owner of that project. If Todd County was interested in being that project sponsor and going through this process to develop this outlet and then maintain it, we would be happy doing a cooperative agreement, and we would be a pass-through for the funds. The estimate that the landowners received for installing a piped outlet to Long Higgins Lake down to Sauk Lake was $1.398 million. The appropriation is 1.4. With the information we have, what I've been relaying to the landowners and Commissioner Newman is there's additional costs that are gonna have to be paid for by something, somewhere. And the two options that I see is, well, three options I see. One is the landowners around the lake that are gonna benefit from this project would pay that cost through an assessment. The county board would sign on as the petitioner and could possibly pay those additional costs. In visiting with Representative Weiner, one of the options I proposed to him is we go back to the next legislative session and seek an additional appropriation to cover those costs. Obviously, there's no guarantee that that's gonna happen, but that's another option. The preliminary feasibility study estimated the cost for an outlet at $700 and some odd thousand, but that was for an open ditch. What the landowners are desiring is a piped outlet, which pretty much doubles the cost when you're putting it underground. And I can understand why they would like to go with a piped outlet. It disturbs less ground after it's installed because you can cover it back up and you can use the ground over the top of it again. So the landowners that we would be crossing would be happier with a piped outlet, and I believe that's why they were looking at that. I told Megan that last fall that if her group was successful in getting funding, we would do everything we can to put an outlet in for their lake that would help control that high water level. So when it came back this spring saying, hey, we got appropriated a chunk of money to do this, it's like, oh boy, this is gonna be fun. We just have to work through all the legalities of it to get it done. So that's where we're at. And I'll take questions if anybody has them.
Any questions?
Not at the moment.
I got a couple. As of now, the water in Long Higgins is not entering Sauk River.
Correct.
Or Sauk Lake.
Correct.
So basically, it is kind of on an island of its own. Birchdale Township, you haven't had any conversations with Birchdale Township as far as possibly signing on and assisting you with the bonding either.
We have not. They've been a part of the conversation from the start. We just haven't approached them. We figured
Right.
Birchdale Township is very, very small, and so to
Right.
ask them to do this project, I think is a pretty big ask, but it just seemed like Todd County felt like the right first ask, if that makes sense.
Right.
Commissioner Newman, I do not believe the township board would be an eligible petitioner. The statute says if a project petition is signed by a county board or governing body of a city, a bond is not required.
Governing bond of the city is the township.
Are they?
Yeah.
Are they classified as that?
The city of, we
Birchville.
call them townships, but, like it's the
Okay.
city of Moran or the city of Birchdale.
Yeah.
Okay, well then that might be a different case.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I would look into that.
You guys haven't had any discussion as far as creating a lake improvement district, where you guys would generate your own taxing base within the 30 residents. You set that amount of budget which you would like to, which they could afford, okay? With that lid, you would also have accessibility to probably some grants. So you could apply for grants through Lazard Sam's, legacy funds, stuff like that. So there's another option there.
Okay. Does
And
that,
then, right now, you only have one bid.
right,
Okay, so and that's the hard part, because once you gotta get it to that phase in order to put it out for bids, because it might come under that 1.3. You don't know. What we're seeing right now, at the county level, some of our bids that were estimated up here, now are coming down into here. And it depends on the workload for the contractors, so, could be cheaper.
Mr. Chair, what kind of timeline do you guys have to work with? You know, as far as
The
the bonding money from the state and so forth? I mean,
Yeah.
is there,
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, this was an appropriation from the state's general fund, so it's not tied to bonding money. I don't know that I can answer that question as how long we have to use it.
yeah,
What sticks in my mind is something around that 2 to 3 year time frame.
Kinda reminds me of Chaminade.
yeah.
I'm sure we could probably get some extensions if we needed to push it out farther, but I would like to get this thing built next year.
Mhm.
Okay, we can't make any decisions today, but, when the, county attorney, gets back, we will have,
Did Soil and Water have anything?
yeah,
Dacia's rep?
Adam,
Or
Dacia, you
Deja?
guys wanna come up and,
You have any
Commissioner
input at
Becker's
all?
got a good point, you guys wanna
You have
chime
any
in on
input?
anything on this?
You know,
I think John pretty much covered everything, all the information that I to the county.
okay.
Okay. All
Cool.
right, any other questions?
Mr. Chair, could I just ask, just for some clarification from John regarding the lid? Can you just maybe share what, in this situation with the issue of the bond, what would that lid do for the residents related to the bond?
In my opinion, a lid would be basically establishing an assessment area around the lake, similar to what we would do with this project. So the only difference would be who's operating that lid or that assessment area. If it was a lake improvement district, it would be operated by that lake improvement district and their governing body. An assessment for a project through the watershed district, the assessment area would be managed through the watershed district. So, in my opinion, either way, the landowners around the lake may be on the hook for some additional costs here. How it's collected through a lid or the watershed district or, the county setting something up, I don't think it's gonna make any difference.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, the Watershed District Board did authorize our staff, myself and our attorney, to assist the landowners with drafting the appropriate petition language and provide all the required documentation that they would have to submit to the Watershed Board, in the form of a petition. And we've got that information pretty much ready to go. We reviewed it with the landowners, and there's some, because of this bonding requirement that we're talking about and these additional costs over the 1.4 million, we're still probably gonna massage that language a little bit, but we wanna make sure that once we figure out how it's gonna move forward, we'll get the petition drafted appropriately. We've got most of that done now.
Okay. It's just, my concern is that we did get the funding. We need to do this project, because if we don't utilize that 1.4 million, and we have to give it back to the state, or the Sauk River Watershed's gonna have to give it back to the state, it's not gonna look good for the county. Because they're gonna say, hey, we bonded 1.4 million, you didn't utilize it, so what's gonna guarantee us on your next project, we're gonna move forward with that? So, you know, that'll go back to our legislators, everything, so we need to get this project done, we need to figure out how to move it forward, and we'll just continue the discussions. Correct?
Is Todd County willing, if we got the 1.4 from Sauk River Watershed put into the Todd County accounts, can we work with Todd County and do the project through you guys?
I cannot answer that today. So,
Because I agree with you, I think if we go through the Sauk River Watershed managers and they go to a vote, that seems like a
that's
little bit of a risk.
my concerning part, because they are, like I said, majority is Stearns County managers. We have 2 from Todd, like I said, 1 from Douglas, 1 from Pope, 1 from Meeker, okay? That board controls what's gonna happen in Todd County.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, if the Watershed District Board receives a petition with adequate signatures on it, they're compelled by law to evaluate and likely move this project forward. Petition project does not require a unanimous vote from the board to be approved. It needs a majority vote. The Todd County representatives on our board are working to make it perfectly clear to the landowners that there's gonna be an assessment area probably on this, and they want to make sure that they understand that, so we don't run into the same problem that we have run into with the Said Pond project out on, Osakis area. Landowners had forgotten or didn't realize that there was an assessment area and they're on the hook for costs. And so we're taking painstaking efforts to make sure that is known up front by all parties that might be responsible. I firmly believe that if a petition comes before the board with adequate signatures and even beyond adequate signatures, that this project is gonna move forward, as long as we meet the letter of the statute. If Todd County agrees to sign on to it and there's no bond required, that even sends a bigger message to the Watershed District Board that, hey, we've got another county government standing behind this project to move it forward. But there's some risk on your side, your part, to do that, and you want to make sure you understand what that risk is. I personally believe that it doesn't matter what board members or where they're appointed from. I believe our board would approve moving this project forward with an adequate petition. They don't want to initiate it by unanimous resolution because, which I don't think we get a unanimous vote, because that doesn't necessarily get the message out to the landowners that there may be an assessment area established and they'll be on the hook for some costs.
Okay. Anything else? Thank you guys for coming in. We'll be in touch.
Happy to come back if you need me to for further discussion or questions.
Okay.
Is there a timeline for what you guys would feel comfortable with knowing if you would be willing to sign the petition? Because we have another board meeting coming up, the Sauk River Watershed District, coming up in
15th of August.
Yep. I mean, so it just every single month that this waits, then
I would have a conversation also, Megan, with Birchdale Township and see what their thoughts are.
Okay.
And then let me know. Okay? Alrighty.
no timeline.
Hmm?
So you don't have a timeline of when you could get back to us?
No, not right now, until we can have a discussion with the attorney and you guys have a discussion with Birchdale and you guys have a discussion with your members on the lake, the residents on the lake.
Okay.
And if you guys need somebody to come down there, whether it's a couple board members or Representative Wiener, let me know. And we'll come down. Okay? So So thank you for coming in.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Mhm.
No, Randy, who was the guy in the blue shirt then? He was from the watershed district?
John Osland, yeah. He's the administrator.
Oh, he is, okay. It's first time, I don't think
I apologize for that, yeah.
yeah, they're kinda caught between a rock and a hard spot right now.
All right. Moving forward. Elected official salary presentations. This is something new through the policy. So county attorney is going to be done by Coordinator Pelzer. So let's pull out your information there and go from there.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, as Mr. Chair said, the county attorney is not present today, so John did send information off to all commissioners, kind of giving some background on his experience, his performance, some salary data from other counties. John provided a pretty exhaustive list of duties that he's completed in his short amount of time that he's been appointed and then elected county attorney. So with that, I also have provided you with the 2023 attorney wage survey, which includes, I think there's 14 counties listed. So the current county attorney's salary is $126,619, and that comes in at 96% of the average. That's 2023 wage, that's 2023 salary. So when we look at in comparison to the other counties, he is at 96% of the average. John's request for 2024 is a 5% increase to his current salary, which would be $132,949, rounding up $950. And Mr. Chair, if I could just add, so these presentations are going to take place today with the elected department heads, and then for the next board meeting on August 15th, we'll come forward with actual board actions and resolutions to be passed. So,
Okay. So today is just a good review and digest them.
Yep.
Okay.
so that's the information that I have for county attorney. If you would like, I can just move on to auditor treasurer, and Denise can present her information.
I sent forward to the board and Coordinator Pelzer on Wednesday my proposal letter. The kind of statutory guidelines we have to follow is listing our duties and responsibilities. I've listed several there. I don't need to read them all to you. And if I brought the entire manual, it would be a 5-inch binder. So I don't think you want me to read a 5-inch binder to you of everything that constitutes in my office. Performance measures, things I'd like to note that before coming on as my interim in 14, some of the key things that I did, I stabilized the county investment ratio and returns. Constantly a positive financial audit. In 2022, we collected over 73 million. We dispersed 73 million out, a little over 73 million, or 63 million. That's a lot of money going through one office with only 4.5 staff for an entire year. So we are the financial hub of the entire county. Every office that is established under Todd County runs through my office financially. Another great rah-rah for our office is that the overall county fund balance was at 3 months reserves in 2014. We have them at 8.5 now in 2022's audit. We took the general fund balance from 1.9 months reserves to 13.5 months in 2022. So we're seeing great strides in our financial and being fiscally responsible. We've decreased the number of tax forfeiture, which is really great. When I came on, there was hundreds of parcels on there. And now this last year, we only had 21 properties that we forfeited, and the sale we had last week was amazing. Out of the 21 parcels, we sold, I believe, 19 of them. It was just an awesome sale. We also implemented such things as HCH payments, which increases our security and timeliness of payments. that was never an option in Todd County before, and that's, eliminated a lot of our, lost warrant checks, things that get lost in payment. So that's a neat thing that's happened. I'm involved a lot with a lot of Todd County committees. I have a supporting staff that has longevity in the county. Couple things in 14 I also helped implement was the finance committee and the facility committee. We never had those before. And with help of the county board members, we decided that would be a good asset to the county, and we can see now moving forward in 2023 from that time frame, it's done great things. I have 35 years of experience with the county, vasting from starting in the assessor's office, moving all the way up to a deputy assessor. Did private appraisal work in my own private life, then relocating back into the auditor treasurer's office, climbing my career ladder in that office to the position I'm at now. I also hold a lot of state level positions. I'm a director for Region 5 through the Mako Board Association, and I sit on several committees that are like the Drainage Committee, the Legislative Election Committee, CPT's user group meeting, other various committees I haven't listed on here. So if you have any questions, you can ask me, send me an email, give me a call. I embrace the opportunity to continue my role as auditor treasurer in this term, and I'm asking for $106,725 for 2024. And again, like I said, I'm open to any comments, questions, concerns you have. Please bring them forward before the next meeting, and I can give you the logistics to my request.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Mr. Chair, can I just add to that really quick? So when you look at that 2023 Auditor Treasurer Wage Survey, you'll see a lot of blanks within that. We had pretty much filled in attorney, and we'll see with the sheriff's office, that's pretty much filled in. But with these positions like Auditor Treasurer and with Recorder, some of those are appointed, some of them are elected. So I'm hoping that by the time this comes to board, I'll have a more total. And then also just to kind of piggyback on one of the things that Denise shared, she shared that she has 35 years of service. So that's not represented on this table either for any of the electeds, and I can try to gather that information too.
Okay. Any other questions? No?
Old as dust.
That's Denise's words, not mine.
I do have one question on that. Didn't they have a bunch of auditor treasurers quit this year?
I can speak on that from my conference. A lot of them are quitting because of the mandates. They're just walking away. They're not finishing a term. They're just, I'm done.
A lot of pressure.
Yeah, a lot of pressure. Mhm.
Okay. Great, thank you. All right, Chris. Recorder.
Good morning.
Hello.
Our recorders have had the same turnaround kind of as auditor treasurers too, so I think my chart will look a little wonky also. I did compare myself a lot with the Brown County Recorder, who had also been appointed in the fall of last year like I had, who's elected, and she performs most of the same office duties that I do. I bring to the county 21 years of experience in the title industry, being a licensed abstractor and owning my business before coming here. Therefore, it was easy for me to step in to be comfortable with all the real estate transactions that are occurring. I knew how to use a lot of the computer programs already. And then we also do, besides the real estate, the vital records, and then the driver's license. Last year, I was short-staffed from October of 2022 to just June of this year. I'm finally back up to having full capacity in my office. Being that short-staffed did allow me to be under budget from what we had proposed in the fall of 2022.
I also have attached to what I presented you, the general ledger distribution report for this year so far. The county compliance fund is where that sits, also as well as the recorder's technology fund. And then the MACO president had also just conducted a survey on the county recorders, which I have attached. That kind of lays out where the county recorders, how their jobs are similar and how they are different, and what each county office kind of does. That was interesting to me because I am one of only 13 county recorders that completes a property transfers. I'm 1 out of 6 that issue driver's license, and I am only 1 of 17 that process the tax splits and combinations. So that adds a lot of diversity in our office, which makes your workload heavier also, especially when we were short-staffed for such an extended amount of time. So I am asking for a 6% increase, up from last year.
Okay.
I guess, if you have any questions?
I just want to thank you for educating me on what you do. I really, you broke it down pretty good. Yeah. And that we're only, what is that, 1 of 31? Didn't know that. So,
Yeah.
and 1 of 17, 1 of 6. Any other questions for Tim? So, do we still have the lighthouse account or whatever it is? What was that? Technology fund, that's the one.
Yep, so
Sorry.
Kim's office is responsible for the Recorder's Technology Fund, which can only be used for
Right.
the Recorder's office.
Yep.
And then also the
The
Compliance Fund, which can be used for technology enhancements for any land records office.
Okay. All right.
I have those totals, too, for where they stand, as of the end of June for this year.
Okay.
And we did just utilize the compliance funds with our flyover
Yeah,
that
the
we just had
pictometry.
done. So for the
Yep.
next 3 years, we'll use compliance funds and some monies from the cities to pay for that.
Okay.
Yep.
There, thank you. Any other questions for Kim? Oh, thank you.
Thanks.
Good morning, Commissioners. So you received a printout of all the comparable sheriffs' salaries. Right now, I'm at about 85% of average, lowest paid of the comparables. So normally I would ask for a shortening of that gap, between my current salary and the one in the upcoming year. But since you are doing a wage study, a compensation study, hopefully this year, I would have no issues with holding off for that gap. That would probably correct itself with that. And so what I would ask for would be a 3% increase, which would be the same as my staff gets. My staff gets 3%, I'd ask for 3%, and then wait for that wage compensation study and see where that lands.
Okay. Thank you for that. Any questions from the board? None?
No
Huh?
questions here. Thanks, Mike.
Chris?
I think, again, when we look at the wage survey information from the other counties, it's really difficult to look at this and try to figure out where should an elected official land. And It's not always comparing apples to apples because I don't have longevity included in this, so hopefully by the next board meeting, you'll be able to kind of see where that lands. But that is not going to change the fact that the sheriff has been consistently low.
Yeah, and thanks, Sheriff, for looking at, realizing that we are gonna be doing a comp study and,
Absolutely.
yeah. And things are gonna, they'll probably change, so,
Based on everything we're hearing and seeing in the law enforcement world,
yeah.
they're going to, either fortunately or unfortunately.
Yeah.
But they will change, so.
Yeah, okay. Any other questions?
But-
Thank you.
You bet.
Mr. Chair, if I could,
Yes.
for further discussion. I'm fine.
Okay,
You can
thank
go. I would like to see, what some of the Todd County workers are being paid and what their increases are. Because I know, like, the sheriff's office, they had a different limit set on them versus the rest of the unions were different.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Becker, so the cost of living adjustment for some unions was different than in others, and that was due to
Yep.
binding arbitration.
And going up, some of, if they're in steps, they receive the, is it
3%.
percentage of a step
3%.
plus the increase?
Mhm.
So I would like to see how that relates to our elected officials, you know.
Commissioner Becker, would it be helpful if we showed that for, like, since electeds are department heads, would it be helpful to show that across all department heads?
Yes,
Okay.
that would be good. And what their increases would be this coming year.
Where they fall within their step.
Where they would
because
fall
some
within-
might be at the top of that, where they would just be getting that 2.5, but some may be getting the 2.5 plus the 3.
And we can see that with the different years that they've been in office as a elected official also.
Yep, absolutely, I'll do that.
So, and if we could get that information, you know, before the next meeting, so we have a chance to
Absolutely.
look at that.
Mhm.
Okay. My next thing is, Mr. Chair, when are we going to be doing the commissioners?
Good point.
Representation.
Probably at the next meeting.
Mr. Chair, I can, if you would like, if the board would like, I can bring all of those, the electeds, all electeds, including commissioners, we can bring the union, the not the union, because they're already done, but those non-union and appointed positions as well, and just get them all set.
Could you give us a comparison on other counties as well? Is that a possibility?
As far as
Shared
elected?
ones
Sure,
where
yeah.
we're setting
Oh,
them? Yeah.
absolutely,
Yeah.
we'll have
So
that
we
full
get a comparison of our
comparison.
surrounding area?
Yes,
Yeah.
I can do that.
Okay. Just
Good point, Commissioner Becker. I see we weren't on there, but you know, maybe we're hiding somewhere. So yeah, probably next meeting, we better do that.
Yes.
Address it. Thank you. Okay.
It is
Anything-
August.
Yeah. Anything else? If not, we are done with the work session and we're gonna go